Sumit, you're not a first-time founder. You've been building communities for a long time. So
Yeah.
after all these years, I'm wondering, what are these companies that you're building right now? Can you talk to me about what you've learned along the way and why you're building what you're building?
Well, that's an interesting question. I realized back like early days, and I'm a musician and I love to perform on stage, and I'm a people person. So I think just being around with people and learning from their experiences is something which really got me started off with building a product management community. And I started building this one when WhatsApp came up with the whole concept of groups, right? So I'd built probably India's first product management community and the global product management community. And of course, I didn't scale it the way I should have now when I look back. I see so many other scaled global product management communities, people who've just been scouting for email IDs and phone numbers without really adding value. I think I am not meant I'm not cut out for that. I really find value in the networks, which is why the communities that we are building are extremely value oriented. And I've heard it so many number of times that our groups that we have on WhatsApp or the channels that we have on Slack, the kind of discussions people have, the kind of value people derive out of it is something which they don't find in other communities at all. And not once, but now I have more than like 20, 30 times that people have come to me and said, hey, this, what you've built is like amazing. We really find value. So I think that's my North Star, uh, to really build communities that add value. Um, if you're not a PM or if you're not in AI, if you're not building in the same zip code of AI and product management, then sorry, you're not to be a part of it. No, you got to be in that ecosystem. So we don't have anyone who's from sales or people from account management and those kind of fields. No, we have strong filters, right?
So
Like
can
really
I ask
strong filters.
ask you something?
Go for it.
I've been
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
lot of groups, all right, over in different platforms. Some of them are great. All right. Some of them are really great, but some of them are great for a week and then they just die out. They die down. Nobody starts talking anymore. And you even forget that these groups exist. So how do you mitigate that in a world where there's just too much going on, so many apps, so many groups? How do you feel that you can differentiate yourself?
One, of course, have very high standards of people who are coming in, right? When I started off with the product management communities, we had a very simple filter that you have to have at least minimum of 2 years of PM work experience in this, right? And then when we started building the other bits around it, when we figured out that how people are eventually going to find value, I've been a part of a lot of groups, and what I see in those particular groups is that there is so much of moral policing, so much of policing around who can post, what can you post, etc., and then people trying to sell. So one, of course, is there is no spam in the groups. There is no good morning, good evening, New Year, Happy Diwali or Christmas or whatever, and Happy birthdays. Absolutely no. It really keeps the group relevant. And then empower everyone. So my groups, we have more than 50 admins.
Wow.
And all, yep, more than 50 admins. Run it the way you want to run your own community. Run it the way you want to take, you build your teams. Run it the way you want your ecosystem to eventually flourish. That, when you empower people, it's a group of the people, for the people, by the people. It's as simple as that. When you empower them, then really take care of it. When they ask questions and others communicate and the others respond to the questions, right? First, of course, you have very high authority. You have high gatekeeping. So the ones who are coming in are people from Airbnb, Booking, Fang, Mang companies, directors, head of product for Bumble, head of product for Upwork. These are the kind of folks who are in these groups. And then you really solve problems. You really solve problems. You don't just throw out a question, and if you're not finding value in that and you're just throwing out question, people can sniff off, BS from a kilometer off. So if somebody is really spamming the group with two warnings, after two, sorry, you ask you to leave. If you don't leave, we'll throw you out. 50 admins. Somebody will definitely across the day, Somebody is definitely looking at the group and they will just throw you out.
Mm.
So you got to have really high standards of what you're building, how you're building, and the kind of help do you really need. And that's something which I learned really early in my life, that if you're building a community, you got to empower the community to be run the way they want. And it's 7 years, 8 years on, the group is 24/7. They still find a lot of value. People have hired from these groups. There are recommendations and referrals. There are jobs. There are ideas, and people have started their own startup ideas from within the community. We've done hackathons, distributed hackathons over the net, 24 hours, 48 hours, and people have really found immense value in these ideas. Of course, now AI is going to be the flavor of it. So now people are discussing AI. We are doing right now. We are doing a free course with 650 people enrolled globally, and they all come on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock for that 1 hour, and they're learning. And 62% people in that group, in that cohort of 650 plus who've registered, 62% people are 8 years and above in a work experience, and they're still saying that they're starting off with AI, beginners. Now, these numbers, I'm hoping that 20%, 30% of them are faking their profiles and they think that we just want to be there. There's enough FOMO to be, truth be told. But even if with that FOMO, even if I discount 20% separately, we're still talking about 40% people, 80 years in experience, still starting to learn AI. That's the big opportunity that we are sitting at. So what I've not been able to do good in the previous communities is that I've not been able to monetize them, just giving to the community. But I think just by giving back to the community and not monetizing the communities right then have helped me to build my own personal brand and trust, which I'm now able to do. So when I now talk about something and giving back to the community and running these courses, there's a lot of validation that has already happened in the past, which I'm now able to bring to the table, which basically means that when I'm starting off with the first cohort itself, I have 30 people who are enrolling into this particular boot camp from Canada, London, Dubai, Singapore, coming from all over the world with zero marketing spent.
So,
Uh,
Sumit, a community is only as strong as the will of the people to contribute, right? I mean, if
yeah,
I guess my logical question is, why do people want to support each other? I know it sounds like a, a very
interesting question.
sinister question, but why
Yeah.
do you feel like
Well,
people want to help each other? Is it pure empathy?
yeah. Um, yes and no both. And I'll probably give you a flip of this. Inherently humans, while they still want to help, and this is coming from that Octalysis framework from Yukhai Chao, the first core value, which is epic meaning and calling, right? People would want to help others because they would want to be seen a certain way. They want to be seen, and there is enough social validation that, hey, what you were just saying is amazing. And then they go take this conversation from here and they go to LinkedIn and say, hey, this community was talking about this, and here is my one-page note on this particular topic. And then five other people would then go and comment on it. They find social validation. They get a lot of social respect, reputation, etc. That's one part of it, right? The other part of it is humans love, and they absolutely love to correct the other person more than help. So if you post a question and then say, hey, this is how I was trying to navigate this, they would not want to give you the right answer. They would give you an answer because they want to correct you. Here, just to stay with me, right?
You're onto something. Keep
Again,
going. Keep going.
yeah, right? They want to correct the other person because I think I know better than you, so I'll probably give you a better response. Again, I want to correct you not because I know it better. I want to correct you because if I correct you, then I find 10 other people who would want to then come and say like and thumbs and heart and everything else. And that again goes back to social validation and social reputation. What I just said was resonated by five other people or 10 other people and they liked it. And somewhere deep down in my mind, there is a dopamine effect that comes in. And then I feel, hey, I have arrived. I was able to answer a question in the community, which has Bumble, Google, and Metas and those kind of PMs, and they are watching this group. So tomorrow, and this also happens tomorrow, when these guys would ask a problem, the probability of somebody else responding to this is higher purely because I have helped somebody in the past. So that's the cycle that it goes. But inherently, people would want to, they want to help. I'm not saying they don't want to help. They really want to help. But the reason to help is not just epic meaning and calling, but also social validation and social relatedness. So that's these are two social drivers or two drives that Yukaicha would typically talk about. So these two would come together and then they eventually do it. And that's the reason why people want to help each others and they want to correct you more than the helping part of it.
You know what, Sumit?
Try it out in one of the groups.
I love your answer because it's it's the unfiltered truth. Like the usual answer would be, yeah, people are good. People like to help each other. But you gave me a deep psychological breakdown of why helping someone is triggering a dopamine effect. And like but it's fascinating. And in a lot of ways, I agree with you. So thank you so much for doing this, Sumit. It was a real eye opener, and I really,
Thank you.
really enjoyed the conversation with you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I could bring in some of my personal perspectives on how I build products and how I think businesses more importantly. It's not just about building communities or businesses, just thinking about problems and how just solving them in general in life. But thank you so much. I hope I add a new flavor to the channel that you're running, and I wish you all the very best.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.